How many planets do you think there are?
1,000?
I think is it moon?
Moon? I agree.
7.
Oh, she did get that right there, 7.
Um, 9?
Do you think there are any aliens or monsters out in space?
Not at all.
What? Why?
Because monsters aren't real, and like aliens, they're like in between me. Like I think they're real, at the same time they're not. But monsters are like aliens, and like they speak like a language like a language that America like doesn't have. So I'm just gonna say no.
No.
Why not?
I don't know.
You just don't know?
Yeah.
Alright.
No,
Why not?
because they're not real.
No,
Why not?
because they are gone.
Okay.
Because they are in Mars.
Do you think humans are hurting space with garbage and with trash?
No,
Why not?
because they are not. Because garbage is not. The garbage is thrown in trash.
Okay.
Yes.
You do? How so?
Like, it's not like getting like that hurt though. It's like, I don't know.
You just think so?
Yes.
Do you think we could stop it if it is hurting the space?
Maybe.
Maybe. Do you have any trust in that we will fix it?
No, because you're lazy.
You hear her first.
Yes.
Why?
It just hurts them.
How do you think the humans are hurting the space with garbage and pollution?
Because the earth is made with water.
I agree. That's it.
To literally just pollutinate the space, because you can't just throw a can up in the air and then there's no like floating, and then like it doesn't shoot up into space. So I'm gonna say no.
Well, the earth is our home and we all live on it. We all nurture it one way or another. But have you ever thought about the earth's home space? The home of the elements that we look for in the sky. The stars, the moon, the sun. Just like on earth, pollution is a huge problem in space too. We need our space to be protected, but how? I'm today's host, Valerie Brose, and I'm joined by
Nigel.
Aaron, and Rachel. Hi, we are Keystone, and this is our podcast. Every week we have a new host and pick a new topic that has to do with climate change. As you heard, this week we are talking about planets and the solar system.
Yeah, before we talk about planets, let's talk about some background on pollution itself.
All right. Question number 1. Why is pollution so important compared to 5 years ago?
Well, I would just say that, overall, pollution has just gotten worse over time, in general. It doesn't even have much to do about like anything. Well, it does have to do with other things, but like it did get worse over time, which makes it more relevant now.
Yeah, I agree with Rachel because it's so much more relevant now because it's so much worse than it was 5 years ago. So it's more of a problem now than it was back then. And people are now just starting to realize like how big climate change and how much of a problem it will pose if we just leave it like with nothing. So we have to start working on it now since we decided not to work on it 5 years ago when we thought it wasn't a big issue.
And I also feel like it's one of those things where we didn't really know. We knew it was a big deal, but we didn't know how big of a deal is it until more and more research started coming out, especially about specific products that we use everyday lives. Like I saw a post yesterday about how like the exfoliating beads are bad and about like certain clothing, like clothing mesh like polyester because it doesn't decompose, and it's more things like that, really realizing that like everyday items of ours is really contributing to pollution.
I will also say there's been a lot more awareness for pollution.
Yeah.
A lot of more people are more actually like thinking about pollution with celebrities, and, well, everyday people too. And just it's really just a big thing now compared to 5 years ago.
And like Rel said, she saw a post. Like people are posting this on social media. It's raising awareness, and there's more ways to get it around. Like get the information around. Like 5 years ago, maybe Instagram wasn't the way it was, or Snapchat. Like people have changed, and so has climate change.
I'd say it also has to do with who's raising awareness about it too. Like I'd say big corporations and like other things. Like before people were trying to say something about it but nobody was listening, but now that like big things like I'd say like brands are going on about it and they're like going out and they're saying that climate change is a big problem, and then their fans and everybody who like watches them or listens to them are like, "Oh, this is a big problem now." Seeing as now bigger people, bigger as in like holding more power, I'd say,
Yeah.
are now like worrying about it. So they're like, "Oh, maybe we should worry about it too."
Right.
I agree.
So now that we've talked about that, let's actually talk about space and pollution.
All right, so then I believe our next question would be twinkling in our minds. How does space actually get polluted? Like we know it's like a problem, but like how does it actually get polluted?
Like space itself.
Yeah.
How does space itself get polluted?
Yeah.
I would say probably the worst. I mean, not the worst, but one of the easiest ways to get polluted is a lot of the spaceships and the like satellites we send up into space. A lot of those parts that get sent off stays in space forever and stays around our planet orbit.
That's true.
Right. Every time that we send a spaceship up, we're basically risking the chance of sending trash out. Now, I'm not saying humans, like the astronauts in that spaceship, are considered trash, but I am saying that those spaceships, like, if it were to crash or malfunction, it's gonna be floating around space forever. That is a big thing of garbage in space, and they're sending satellites and stuff up there that could potentially get caught in the whatever ray of whatever. Like that's a lot of garbage.
Yeah, and we do know like the track record with spaceships blowing up in space. So it's not like a thing where they're like if it blows up, it's like it might blow up.
There's
know?
yeah.
And it's like even worse because people have started considering like since the earth is now so polluted with their own trash, they've started thinking about, hey, why don't we just send that up into space? And that's a bad idea because then it would make space way more polluted than it already is, causing a way bigger problem, especially because people are now starting to think, what if we, like, as humans, decided to go to a different planet when Earth, inevitably will become inhabitable?
I really feel like the idea of like just sending stuff up and just like hoping, oh, chances are low but never zero. It's like one of those things where it's like if you have a balloon and you let it go, you're not getting that back. There is no way you're getting that balloon back.
No, not the way it came up.
And
At least.
one of the only things stopping people, this is crazy. Like, one of the only things stopping the people that are considering sending trash up is the cost. Because it says it's going to roughly cost $26,000 to $53,000 for every 3 pounds of garbage. That's a lot of garbage, and that's a lot of money. So they're like, maybe we can't send trash up because it's so expensive. But the fact that that is like the only thing stopping
Yeah.
people, like maybe the fact that we'll be trapped on Earth forever. We have no other options.
My
Yeah.
God,
Because,
3
like,
pounds is less than a baby.
It's less than a week, yeah. And it's so sad how people are thinking more of the money than like their own space of living. Like you said, like our only option right now. Like the way they're only thinking about the money, and that just shows like how horrible the mindset of like
Yeah.
people are right now. Like why would you only think about the money? I am not concerned about that at all. I'm more concerned about living, you know?
Yeah, I will also say, go back to the point where like we'll get trapped in space, like on our planet, because when you send a whole bunch of trash into orbit, it doesn't like really lose that much speed. It takes a really long time to like for something to lose speed in space. So imagine you send like a baseball into space. It's just gonna keep on going around the planet, and when you have something like a baseball traveling around the planet, it can hit a satellite. It can hit maybe a rocket that's going up into space. It can hit an astronaut.
And that's going fast. Like the speed that the orbit goes, it's fast.
That's
It's-
like Jimmy John's fast, like freaking
That's
fast.
that's a hard baseball to the spaceship. And if we got all this garbage just orbiting around, like these spaceships are literally dodging garbage.
And when something hits something in space, it'll make more baseball-sized trash. So
More
then,
garbage.
then you have, so once that baseball hit like a satellite, you have 3 more baseballs, pretty much. Not
Yeah.
actual baseballs, but baseball-sized things spinning around the planet.
That
And it's just gonna
baseball-
keep on adding up until you
Right.
can't really leave.
Can't really stop it either.
That baseball
Right.
is traveling fast. It's traveling at 17,500 miles per hour.
Pulling out the facts.
It's like
And there's, like Nigel saying, like once it hits, it makes more debris. Where actually, according to NASA, there's approximately 500,000 pieces of debris the size of a marble or larger. Or larger is considering a baseball. So,
Or a softball.
16-inch or
Or
12
honestly,
inch
like
or
just like imagine if the spaceship didn't get fully broken down. So like just imagine like a big chunk of just debris that's like broken spaceship flying at another spaceship. Like that's crazy.
So scary to think about.
honestly, yeah, it is scary. It's super scary. Like, I
So-
get concerned about it a lot. Sorry. Go ahead, Nigel.
So I mean, there's a whole bunch of baseballs in space now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically.
Is there a major league up there too?
Is there the baseball players?
I wonder if
Where
there
they
is. Just got Tim Anderson up there.
Yeah, we should
hard.
send Tim Anderson up there.
at? Tim Anderson, you're going to space, buddy.
Will he come back though?
So
That's the question. That is the real question.
so since there is like a whole bunch of baseballs up there, has there been like any solutions? Like any solutions that you can probably think of then? I mean, there has been some solutions out there, but
Well, let me pull out the facts really quick. Space agencies, yes, and private companies have come up with a variety of cleanup ideas. Variety. Special missions could push over satellites down into the atmosphere or up into the graveyard. Don't know what that means. Graveyard where, but okay. Using technology as old as civilization itself. Harpoons and nets. Other plans call for ground-based lasers to heat up one side of a satellite, causing it to shift its orbit and get caught in Earth's atmosphere. Meaning, the only solution so far is putting the trash in Earth's atmosphere, which is basically the same situation. If all this garbage is in Earth's atmosphere, isn't that basically the same as it being in space? Well, I guess it's like
Well, I guess what they're saying with this is like if they have like a satellite they don't want to use anymore, just drag it down back to Earth.
I mean,
Oh, that's
But when you use like a harpoon, I think it could just make things worse.
I mean, that just puts us back where we started, if you think about it. Like, we had this trash on Earth,
Right.
and then we put it up into space, and then we're just gonna
bring it a
pull it
little
back
closer,
down.
a little
You're just
closer.
gonna pull
to-
it a bit closer, you know? Like, I don't really think that's that much of a solution, and I think that's mostly because we don't know that much about space yet.
True.
Like, we know more
yeah.
about the ocean than, well, no,
We don't even know that much
don't
about
know
the
about
ocean.
5%.
So we don't know that much about anything, really. So it's hard to come up with a solution about something that you don't really know that much about.
Right.
That's a little awkward.
Maybe the nets will work. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like,
nets be
With
scoopy,
nets,
scoopy.
bro.
Yeah,
But
like,
just
but
imagine there's a
even then-
spaceship.
Big holes in it.
well, even then, like
Pulling.
the net wouldn't work because
Imagine
what if a
happening.
baseball just go through the net?
A baseball size debris. Well, at least that's less garbage. But like, I think this solution pulls us back to that 5-year mark that we were talking about, because it's just pulling it closer to Earth's atmosphere, which was like before now, that garbage that's in space was closer to us, and then it just kind of slowly went out. It would basically be pulling us back.
Yeah.
If you get what I'm saying, like it's just coming back, and then it's eventually probably just gonna go out again.
It's like a boomerang effect where like we
Yeah.
throw it up and then it's like, wee, all right, time to come home. But that really kind of made me think about how we were saying like that we were basically going back to step one, and made me think about like where do we even put it at this point? Like there's
Right.
nowhere to like put it. And but it's so easy to make things indisposable and just like keep going in mass production, but then we're like, uh-oh, when it's time that you can't use it anymore. Like,
Right.
how can that be solved? Like, where should we put it? Are there any ideas where to put it except space, where it'll come bite us in the butt, you know?
Because
Is-
we already see how, like, people will put stuff in the ocean as well, and then that's just sitting there. Like,
Yeah.
that's not going anywhere. And in space, it just, like, kind of just drifts off. But now we want to, like, as they said before, pull it back a bit closer back to Earth. So, like, it's not really going anywhere. It's just
Where is it going?
nowhere.
That
Well-
reminded me of
well,
Among
it-
Us. Just
It
like, just
really
floating.
can't go anywhere because well we have an orbit
Right.
and like it stays
In the orbit.
in the orbit the whole time.
The orbit of trash,
Right.
guys.
And like all this garbage in our orbit is making it like harder. Just think of how much harder it's gonna be for us to actually like make more space technology if we can't test it, because it's just probably gonna end up in space again. Like the amount of trash has become so much that it's causing problems with various satellites, which we use for like, I don't even know what we use satellites for, but I know we use them. Like
Satellites are
iCloud.
used for, like, sound for like location on phones,
Yeah.
for like government stuff, like around
Something
the
like
world.
yeah,
And like it's like the big cell phone tower of the world.
right. So we can't advance in literally any like
Yeah.
most things because of our garbage in space. Like that's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
We're just digging ourselves more in a grave. Like we're gonna be trapped on Earth. It's gonna be falling apart.
And anytime like somebody tries to go like look for something out there, it takes a long time to travel to space or wherever they're going and back.
Right.
Like it would take a few years to get back with any kind of intel, and I don't think people want to waste that kind of time or money in trying to figure out like what to do. So
Right.
we're all just stuck in this cycle, just like the trash outside, like up in the space. So
And if it's like already taking, what did you say, like 3 years to get up in space or like to the moon? Isn't it 3 years to the moon or Mars?
Aren't these
Something like
counted
that.
in light years or something?
Something like that. It takes a long
takes a
time to
while.
get.
Big brain.
So now just imagine having to dodge garbage. Like that's going to take even longer.
Yeah. And I also, like, while you were saying, like, how it takes us a long time to, like, get into space, it made me think about also, like, once we finally do find, like, a solution that's solid proof, that's, like, no loopholes at all, we're gonna be so deep into the trash that we don't even know if we're gonna probably perform that solution.
Right.
Like once we find it, amazing, great. But it's like digging through dirt. Like it's like you keep going and going and going and going. And I'm afraid that's how like the trash is gonna be in space and on Earth, especially on
Right.
Earth.
And now, like, personally, I'm not an astronaut, okay? I'm not an astronaut. I don't work at NASA. But also, like, just think of all the families of, like, astronauts. And, like, imagine how scary it is. You're, like, going up. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if a 16-inch softball-sized debris is going to smash into your spaceship or not. Like, so yes, personally, I will not feel that impact unless if somebody in my family became an astronaut or me.
I'll be
But-
the first.
But just imagine that. Like, that's crazy. That's really sad, too. There's so many families.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh no, that's a pretty big L. Like imagine like going through all this college, getting all this education, getting all this training, just to get hit,
Astronauts are the real heroes, bro. They risk their lives
just to get hit by some trash.
because of us. Because of us.
So okay, so I remember I was a kid, right? And I know there's always the problem with trash. Now,
Yeah.
me, big brain child, thought, what if we just send it to the sun?
You know, that's... But who's going to drive the
Who's gonna
spaceship?
put it there? Yeah.
Do you have to drive a spaceship? Like, is it, like, programmed?
Well, okay.
Is there a steering wheel?
I mean, obviously there's astronauts who like have to like I don't know. I'm going off of the movies I've seen, but like I don't know. I'm not an expert, guys.
Like, I don't think there's just a steering wheel.
No, they have like they have like control
Oh,
buttons and
right.
stuff
Yeah,
like that.
That's also what the satellites are for.
Yeah.
Right.
Connection.
Actually,
So-
now that I think about it, I don't think the sun will even be hot enough to like melt. Well, it is hot,
There's
but like,
no way.
I
No
don't
way
know
you just
about
said
that.
it is
bro.
hot,
No
but like
way.
it wouldn't like
Even with like our amount of
To
trash
get-
that we're about to put in there.
to get rid of something like forever.
Right.
I mean, the sun is definitely hot enough to like melt stuff, obviously.
That's true.
Wait.
Yeah,
But to like just,
it's not gonna.
but to break it
disintegrate
down
no.
to like absolutely nothing, I don't think the sun is capable of that.
You know how like especially with like metal things, it molts together.
Yeah.
If we send stuff up like that, it'll molt on the sun,
It'll
and
just
then
get
there will
worse.
be no sun.
Then there's gonna be a giant metal ball probably flying back at us.
Well,
Exactly.
Okay.
We're taking L's.
This
here.
is Keystone's plan to save climate change. We're going to figure out how to make a spaceship that can drive itself, and then we're going to fill it with garbage, not metal, and send it to the sun.
But the
and we are gonna
spaceship is
save the
made
world.
of metal.
Okay, we're going to make a biodegradable, a burnable spaceship.
plastic, a biodegradable
A
plastic
super
spaceship.
strong plastic.
but
wanna
even
see
then, like,
NASA get on this.
what type of garbage would you even send? Like that wouldn't affect the sun.
Twinkie wrappers. Probably like
Ew, but then
You mean like
napkins. Oh yeah. What about diapers, guys? Like, what is that? Like, where's
Can
that
you
in the
imagine
category?
smell that
No,
everybody-
no, no,
all,
please.
all of the dirty poop just like heats up and it. I don't know about that.
That's
Smells
I'm gonna throw.
Yeah.
So
Smells
good.
for light years.
So to kind of recap on what we talked about.
Yeah.
Number one, there's a lot of baseball-sized garbage, floating around. Number two, we don't know what humans don't know what we're gonna do about this situation besides having harpoons and nets, getting the garbage. What else did we say? It's gonna hinder our technology, and also that we should make a biodegradable spaceship that can drive itself and take it to the sun and burn it all.
Exactly.
There's definitely some like astronaut genius that's probably listening to this and be like,
If you are a NASA worker listening to this podcast,
Write that down. Write that down.
write it down.
Write that down.
Credit us. Credit
Harvard.
us at Keystone.
Harvard's gonna give you a scholarship.
All right. So now we know what we can do to prevent space pollution. We can all go forward and do our part.
Yes. But do
Yes.
we really know what we can do to prevent this?
I can't really do anything.
Yeah,
I don't.
I can't do it.
Personally,
I don't
I
understand.
can't, but I'll make a podcast with my friends
I don't-
and try and raise awareness. I guess that's the best we can do.
I guess I'll just not let go of my balloon next time. I mean,
So hold on tight, guys.
I guess
Yeah.
Nigel's becoming an astronaut. I vote Nigel. Astronaut Nigel.
I think I'm too lazy for that, and I don't want to get hit by a baseball.
You could do it youth of the
First
year.
day in space, you get flinged in the
No. So, thank you for listening to our podcast. Next week, we will be talking about the Earth's environment, like plants and trees and all the good stuff that grows from the ground. And tune in next week to see who our next host will be. All together now,
We are Keystone. Bye.
Bye.